Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday afternoon's game between Man City and Hull. Now, we'll start with City. Big chance last week against Chelsea to cut the gap to 2 points, but they dominated the game, but only able to get a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I think getting a draw at Chelsea is not the worst result in the world. I think the only team in the Premier League to stop Chelsea winning this season at home, which is obviously a big thing to do, especially at Stamford Bridge. Have been so strong, Chelsea, and City will feel like they should have won that game, wouldn't they? They came from 1-0 behind. Remy sent Chelsea ahead, and then it was Silva, wasn't it, who tapped in from close range off that Aguero shot, was probably going wide. Poor mistake from Chelsea, it must be said, but they responded really well. And I think they didn't have Torre, obviously, and it's players like that you think they might struggle to sort of do it. I think it was Fernando and Fernandinho in midfield, and I'm never too sure about those two, but to be fair, they played well. Obviously, Lampard came on late on, couldn't really affect the game, but it was City pushing for the win, wasn't it? Which was, I think Company said after the game, 5 points is not the end of the world, and I don't think it is really. I mean, it's saying Chelsea have been great form this season. It's only probably a win and a draw, isn't it? Again, Chelsea lose, Revy, and Chelsea have got some tough games in the second half of the season, so it will be interesting. 5 points is not a lot, but I think they missed a bit of a chance, didn't they? Missed a trick last week because they were pushing right on. If they'd got that win, it made such a difference. It was a real 6-pointer, but they're still banging it with obviously 16 games to go, 7 games to go. So.
Yeah, I think if they do end up, 1 or 2 points behind Chelsea at the end of the season, they might look back on that as a real chance because I don't think after Chelsea scored they had a single attempt on goal. Yeah. So I think it was a real chance missed, but. They've got the best away form in the league. Going to Chelsea, and getting a point at Stamford Bridge does show that they are a good team on the road. But it's their home form that's let them down a bit this season. In last few seasons, the Etihad was a real fortress for them, but they've lost some key games at home, bad draws as well, like at Burnley. Stoke beat them at the Etihad, so some bad results there. And I think their home form of the top 5 in the Premier League, I think they've conceded the most and scored the fewest of the top 5 when they're playing at home. So. Their form at the Etihad has been bad, and in this last few 16 games, like you said, they have to improve that home form if they're going to have a real chance. They probably want to win maybe every home game now until the rest of the season if they think they're going to maybe snatch the title.
Well, obviously, one eye on this game, sort of players coming in. I think Torre and Bonnie, probably if Ivory Coast go out, obviously it's going to be difficult to see them starting. Is it? Obviously, if the Ivory Coast stay in, they're not going to be involved either. But I think Bonnie gives them that option, doesn't he? I think they were debating whether Bonnie or Cuadrado at Chelsea were the bigger signing in the transfer window. I think Bonnie will be because he was obviously guaranteed your goals, isn't he? And Aguero up front said his injury problems. Jovetic has never really done it, has he? He's done okay, he's done bits and bobs. Obviously, Dzeko's had his injury problems. And I think once they get him back in and Torre, that's a formidable team again. But I say at home, it's not been great this season. They've given teams a chance, which wasn't the case last season when they won the league, and it's going to be a fascinating end to the season.
Certainly, and I think you look at this game, Man City versus Hull. Most people instantly just pick City, but you mentioned those results. Burnley went to City, got a point, but Hull, they come into this game on a terrible run of form, don't they? Last week, home to Newcastle United. That was a winnable game for them. I think Steve Bruce would have thought, but 3-0. I think 3-0 maybe flattered Newcastle a bit. All 3 goals were goals from outside the box. On another day, none of those shots go in. The third one, especially, a deflection. The second one from Sammy Amiobi, he's hit that from at least 30 yards. And you look at McGregor, was he a bit out of position? He was swerving in. It was a good hit, but I think he probably should have saved that. So I think some of the goals, on another day they might not have gone in, but still 3-0. So disappointing for them in the bottom 3, and they need to improve drastically because at the moment they really look like they're not going to get out of the bottom 3.
You mentioned that Newcastle game. I think there was the incident where El Mahadi, wasn't it, when he handballed it, and I think that's what you're a little bit desperate, aren't you, when you're down the bottom of the table? You can understand why he did it. It's a reaction, but that's how it's going for Hull at the moment, isn't it? But looking at their form ahead, I think they play 3 of the next 4 at home, and I think they're against sort of QPR, Villa, Sunderland. I think it is. So that's obviously a run where Bruce will be looking to pick up points. But I mean, they go to City. They've never won there in the Premier League. They've played 9, lost 6, drawn 3. So it's a tough ask, and there's a reason why their record is so poor. Even when City didn't have their millions, obviously they find it tough up there. So it's obviously an important game, very difficult game as well.
So I think they lost 4 of the last 5, and in those 4 defeats, they haven't scored a goal. So they bought in Ndoye, haven't they, in the transfer window, but it's whether he'll be able to do much. You still look at Jelavic and Hernandez; they haven't done much this season. I think Jelavic is the player for me that really needs to step up. Yeah. He knows England, or the British game at least, a lot better. Obviously, he had a great spell at Rangers. When he came to Everton, he looked really good. So I think he's the one player that really needs to step up and get some goals for them. But it's a very tough game for them. What's your score prediction?
It's obviously difficult, isn't it? You mentioned Ndoye. I think he's coming from Lokomotiv Moscow. I think he had a decent scoring record there. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does start with Hernandez and Jelavic. And they've got some good players up front, but for this particular game, I think Ndoye will be better in the home games against the lesser opposition. It's tough against City, and I think it'll be really comprehensive. I think City will win. I think it'll be 2-0.
I actually think it will be really comprehensive. I think Hull are just terribly out of form. I think City, they'll be really annoyed they didn't beat Chelsea last week. And I think they sort of might be a bit of a backlash this week. So I'm going to go for a 4-1 City win. So I fancy City to win this one. Thanks for watching.